Welcome to Health, Harmony, and Happiness with Kathy. I'm your host, Kathy Stricker. In my personal life, I am a wife to a dedicated law enforcement officer and mama to 3 lively littles. I'm an adamantine yoga teacher, health coach, community betterment advocate, and wellness enthusiast. But what I really like doing is connecting others with tools and resources that bring about health, harmony, and happiness. Whatever this looks like to you, I'm here to offer my own insights and tools from others that allow you to realize your full potential to live mindfully as your authentic best self. Allow me to be a guide in discovering what works for you. Hey everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I know that I am. It's a Thursday, which is my favorite day of the week, and I had a phenomenal yoga practice this morning. I was able to do things that I haven't done since before I had my baby, since I was early on in my pregnancy, and I just felt better today. So I don't know, there must be some universal energy that's good out there as well. I want to remind you that if you haven't taken a moment to leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts for this podcast, would you be so kind as to take a moment to go out there and do that? That's how this podcast grows and reaches more people. I really appreciate all my listeners, and I'm so glad that you're here with me and that you're taking the time to listen to these insights from my guests and myself. So I would very much appreciate it if you would take just a moment of your time and leave a review or a rating. Today I sit down with one of my best friends, Jess Ramaeker, who is a nutritional therapy practitioner. We talk everything from what nutritional therapy practitioner means and what it means to eat and follow a functional nutrition plan, to getting picky eaters, picky kids to eat food and how to go about doing that, how to involve your kids in the food planning process at your home. And then we also talk about meal planning and prep. And I'm sure we talk about a little bit more in there too, which will be just some bonus content for you. Today's episode is the first in a 2-part interview that I did with Jess, so you will be able to hear our insights both this week and next. And remember to head on over to the show notes page, KarenYogaWellness.com/podcast12, to find a link to receive a download of my favorite go-to healthy snacks. Enjoy the show. Hey Jess, thanks for taking the time to visit with me today. We're finally getting this chat in, and I'm excited about it because we could talk for hours on lots of subjects, but nutrition is something that you are really passionate about, and helping people eat healthy as well as on a budget, and getting kids to eat healthy food, and then being able to plan and meal prep. And those are all things that we're going to touch on today in our conversation. But thank you so much for taking the time today.
You're so very welcome. I have hours and hours and hours of material I could talk about on this, but we'll keep it.
We'll limit it.
Sort of.
I guess. We'll save you all. It'll just go on. She'll have to be back. You'll have to be back, and we'll visit again on other topics. Okay, so you are a nutritional therapy practitioner. You
Correct.
Just finished up that training this past year. What is nutritional therapy?
Nutritional therapy is learning to, it's a practice that sort of teaches us to tune into our body's innate knowledge of what's going on with our bodies, and then I guess in turn trying to heal or correct some of those issues with a nutrient-based approach or a supplemental approach, but really learning to heal your body with food.
Well, that's an easy thing. So, an easy definition of it. I was looking at the website for the Nutritional Therapy Practitioner program.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about how really a lot of what you learned and a lot of the training that you went through was developed by some really fantastic food scientists, or I don't know, something like that. Do you know
Yes,
anything about that?
lots. I don't know specifics, but the science behind the program and the material that we learned is something that we all have access to. I mean, it's information that's out there. It's just maybe not necessarily what the medical world wants us to tap into necessarily. So.
Right. So basically, what I got from it was that these guys decided just that they weren't getting all the information, and there had to be a better way to help to use food to heal your body. And some of the things that were being recommended were not necessarily that great for your body. Is that right?
Correct. Yes. Yes. As a society, I think that we hope we think there's a magic pill for everything, or a drug for everything. And there are a million wonderful drugs on the market. Do not get me wrong, that modern medicine is, and Western medicine is essential to life. Essentially, I mean, really. But there's a lot of things and issues that we have with our bodies that really, that you can use food as medicine. You don't need to turn to a pill for every little ache and pain or issue that you have going on.
But pills are so much easier, right? Like,
They are.
you don't have
But
to eliminate something from your diet that you may really like ice cream or
like pizza.
right. I mean, right now I'm nursing, and we've discovered that red sauce does not agree with Lulu. So we're heading into chili season, folks. Like, this is,
I
and
wonder if that's
Leanne Huff
I wonder
told
if
me she
that's
had the same
nightshades.
issue. So, oh, that's a good thought. That's a interesting. Interesting. What else falls into that
We
category?
we can talk about that more too.
Yeah, but what falls into that?
Tomatoes, peppers, spices like paprika. Um, that's an entirely different
Interesting.
conversation.
Okay.
But yes.
Okay. I can look into that too. Yeah. So we had pizza last weekend, and I thought, well, I'm just going to try some because it doesn't have that much sauce on it, and I'm not having that much. I'm going to try it. Well, nope. She did not like it. It was not a good thing. So yeah, that's not fun, but I'm going to go for this year being really careful, at least year. If I feed her longer, great, about what I'm eating and not eating tomatoes. I've got a boatload of tomatoes sitting on my back porch that need to be processed, and I really have no motivation because I'm like, I'm not going to get to use those this year. Who cares if they go back into the earth and don't get processed this year?
Shoot.
Oh, well. So if anybody wants tomatoes and you're out there, let me know. Yeah. But food and how it affects your body, basically, and realizing that. So why did you decide to do this Nutritional Therapy Practitioner program?
I have always kind of had a love of biology and science, and since converting my family to a paleo style diet, gosh, I don't know, probably almost 10 years ago now, just through my own experience with swapping foods in our diets, and having great success with some issues that we were experiencing, I see a need for something else, some other way of thinking about food, or thinking about ailments with our bodies, or thinking about healing ourselves, I guess.
Sure. So you mentioned the paleo diet and eating in a paleo. I don't want to say diet because it's a way of eating. It's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle.
Talk about paleo and what that is. Some people may not know what that means or what it is.
Paleo refers to, a Paleolithic way of eating. So the way that our ancestors ate. If you can't grow it, then the idea is you shouldn't eat it. So you should avoid processed grains and processed foods in general. Just, going back to whole foods, fruits and vegetables, and proteins that are raised responsibly, and
basically
just
food
avoiding
that,
processed foods.
yeah. Food that eating like the cavemen ate, pretty
Yes,
much. It's kind of a meat and potatoes type of
very
way
much
of
so.
eating. And that, for so long, has been pushed as not necessarily a good way of eating.
Right. But it's a wonderful way of
It
eating.
is. And I think, people could put up a red flag and say, "Oh, but what about red meat? And what about this and that?" And well, you know what? If you're eating it in moderation and you're eating responsibly sourced beef or meat, then
Mm-hmm.
in my
Some of
opinion,
those concerns are
yeah,
not concerns.
right.
Yes.
True. So, what does that mean then that you want to do with this program or with your training?
What I want to do is
Right.
open a client consultation type business here in Knoxville. I currently cannot practice as an individual because Iowa has very strict rules on nutrition consulting. We are considered a red state, which means unless you are a registered dietitian or a licensed dietitian, you cannot give individualized nutritional suggestions or therapy, whatever. So right now, in my head, I would just love to teach some group classes and kind of get back to teaching. I don't know what that looks like currently, but in my head, I would love to do some meal prep workshops and maybe even a cooking workshop, like teaching people how to cook again. I
Yeah,
feel like
because
we're in this such busy, we're go, constantly going somewhere, doing something with our kids or chasing this or chasing that. And we don't cook a lot at home anymore.
and it's
So
so much easier to just buy something prepackaged and
it
quickly
is.
get it ready. But you're just a rock star at all of that and at cooking for your family,
Some days.
at planning. Well, we all have those days, but you are, and you know what to do. So doing something like that would be ideal and very beneficial. What does it look like? I know when you were going through your schooling, you had to do some practice stuff. So you practiced on me for a session, and you did some functional testing with me. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I can. I tell people that this was the one part of the NTP program that I was super skeptical about. I'll be very honest. And I
But it is
thought, I
so
don't know.
cool. I have
It's
to
very
say, it
cool.
is so cool.
And until I actually experienced it for myself, I did not believe, I'll be very honest, I didn't really believe that it worked. So the functional evaluation is actually, I liken it to acupuncture, which I think is an excellent way of healing your body also. Um, so we have these points on our body that communicate what's going on with our systems. And so the functional evaluation leading into that, there's, quite a bit of paperwork and medical history and diet, what do you eat every day? And that goes into this program that I have that tells me where your body might be lacking or what's going on with your stress system, or are you lacking vitamins or minerals, or gosh, I don't know, a plethora of things. But so the functional evaluation process is me putting pressure with my hands on these points of your body, and it's not a pain scale. It's a rating scale from 1 to 10, 10 being uncomfortable, that you want me to stop, or 1, it doesn't bother you. And the goal with the functional evaluation is to tell me what areas of your body you're having issue with by this tenderness scale. And then going from there, we do a process called lingual neurotesting, which is where we take a supplement and you put it in your mouth. And then I re-put pressure on that point, and you give me feedback as to where that tenderness rating went. And so when you and I did it, I think it was right before you found out you were pregnant with Lulu. And you were a little bit stressed out. And we did your adrenal points, which are your adrenal glands are or little glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and they produce adrenaline and cortisol. And so two stress hormones, one, combats stress, and one is, makes your fight or flight symptom. And I know with you, we tested a supplement that kind of brought that cortisol response down just a little bit. And I think we went from like a 9 to a 4 or something crazy.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It was amazing. I can't even make it up. Like there was physical uncomfortableness that I rated at a 9. And after I put this thing in my mouth and held it there for a short amount of
30
time.
seconds. Yeah, not even 30 seconds.
Yeah,
5, 6
spit it
seconds.
out. She pressed again in the same areas. I could, the feeling, the sensation was so different, so wildly different that it immediately made me believe, okay, yeah, there is something else going on. So I'm like, what is going on? She said I was stressed. Well, that was probably normal for me. Just so you all know, I'm going to let you in on this little secret. Stress. This is why I strive to do this health, harmony, and happiness, or to create that in my life, because my nickname in college was Spaz. I was a little high strung, and I drank caffeine. I don't drink caffeine anymore, but yeah, that's what it was. So stress and me have been good buddies, and yoga and everything that I do right now, meditation, affirmations, is all the way to get rid of that and to keep that at bay. And Jess pointed out that maybe I was missing something in my diet that could be contributing to keeping my stress levels a bit high.
Yes. And that's the supplementation part of the functional evaluation is really just how do we get your body to work the way that that's supposed to? And not, I think supplements are wonderful, but they're not necessarily, again, they're not a magic pill. So it's one more step into getting your body to heal itself, or, here's the supplement that you can take. Let's take it for 30, 60, 90 days, and then let's retest. And that's the whole process of nutritional therapy, is continually revisiting this process and choosing foods that are nutrient dense and have some of the nutrients that will help support those processes.
So why does something like this exist then? And what are some of the big issues with mainstream nutrition that lead to unhealthy eating by the majority of the U.S.? Which is a giant question.
It's a big question. So I think the standard American diet is what we have been, we're offered up the food plate from the USDA and, or my plate, whatever it is now. And without getting political, there's a lot of funding and dollars that support some of those decisions. And
it's better, those,
my plate is better than the food pyramid.
Than the alternative.
Yeah, it is.
And it's definitely better than fast food and letting people eat cinnamon rolls for breakfast every day.
It is.
Donuts.
It is. It is so much better. It actually has come a long way just in the last, I would say, 10 years, where, it was the food pyramid, where the biggest portion at the bottom of the food pyramid was grains. And, the very, very tippy top was fat. And,
Well, and I'm sorry, but this is something that I've said for years. If you think about what we feed cattle to get them ready for market, in the majority of the U.S., it's grain.
mm-hmm.
It is grain. So if you are eating grain, what's that going to do to you? You want to fatten up a cow.
Yes.
You probably are going to do that to yourself if you're eating grains for the majority of your, or as one of the biggest things that you're eating. So that's part of the issue there, but I don't know.
I think the biggest problem is we've been pushed this standard American diet where it's tons and tons of processed foods. And, probably in the last 10 years, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, we keep seeing a rise of autoimmune conditions, celiac and Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition. Our bodies are attacking themselves, which these things didn't exist probably even 50 years ago. Or if they did, they were not nearly as prevalent as they are today. So I think the problem with the way that we've been taught to eat for so long is it's creating a health crisis, essentially. So the need for nutritional therapy or just educating on a more nutrient-dense diet is essential to reverse the process that we as humans have created for ourselves.
Primarily Americans, though.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
really Americans.
Yes.
That's one of the big things. So what you are saying is that what you learned how to do and what the hope is to get out to people is to create a more individualized nutritional way of eating, nutritional lifestyle that supports your body. Because I could deal with grains completely fine, but you may not. So everybody is different, and everybody's bodies support different things. So taking this general my plate or pyramid in the old days and saying this is really what you should be eating doesn't necessarily work for everybody.
It doesn't take into the fact that we are all bio-individual, which is a huge thing in nutritional therapy. Just, just like you just said, what works for you might not work for me and isn't going to work for the next person on the street and the next person on the street. Every single one of us has different processes, and our bodies all do the same things, but they all process things just differently. So nutritional therapy takes in that big factor that we are all bio-individuals and we all need different support.
Exactly. So what are some of those inflammatory foods that most Americans consume but don't realize how much damage they're actually doing to their bodies?
I would say a big umbrellaed topic would be processed foods. Anything that comes out of a box, if it doesn't have, like 6 ingredients or less, it's probably causing some sort of inflammatory reaction in your body. Some kind of general ones would be grains, conventional dairy, like we see in our grocery stores, milk, cheese, even yogurt. What else? Those would be the two big ones that I think we deal with most of the time.
So how do you get around that then? How do you, if that's what you have, if that's what your experience is in eating and that's easy and convenient, how do you change that? What are some simple things that you incorporate in to start eliminating some of those convenience items? We talked about yesterday when we were talking, we talked about the grocery store shopping.
Yes.
Speak to that a little bit more.
So shopping the perimeter of your grocery store. If you think about what is in the center aisles of your grocery store, it's a lot of box stuff, cereal and pastas and, soda. But if you think about what's the perimeter, I'm thinking Fairway. I shop at Fairway most of the time. And so I'm thinking Fairway. When I walk in, it is produce and immediately. So, and then if I keep walking around,
once you get past the candy, come on, there's candy on the left-hand side there. When
I know, and there's candy corn out right now.
I know those pumpkins. I have been resisting now for about a month and a half. Full disclosure, I love candy pumpkins. They're amazing.
I love candy corn.
That's a downfall for me.
Gosh,
this time of year.
And so avoid that first step in the candy, please. Well, it's okay. Balance.
Right.
So that, you're looking at fruits and vegetables, fresh fruits and vegetables, all the good, fresh things. And then you immediately go around the corner and you walk into canned goods. And personally, I don't have a problem at all with canned vegetables or fruits as long as they are as long as the fruits are in juice and not in syrup. And really, as long as there's no additives in canned vegetable, I have no problem with them. And then immediately...
So when you look at a can of tomato sauce...
It should say tomatoes and maybe salt or water. I mean, it should just say tomatoes. So you don't
have a problem with the added salt?
I do not.
Interesting. I never know how to feel about that. As long as it's not like... I mean, I don't feel like I get too much salt in my diet, which is obviously a concern for some people, and some people don't even realize that how much salt canned goods could have in them.
Right.
But
I think if salt is a concern, then you should definitely check the nutritional facts to make sure that it's not like some ridiculous amount of your daily intake. But in the small amount that you're going to be getting in a canned product, I personally don't have a problem with it. But again, that's where that bio-individual thing comes in. So, and then, okay, let's see. We're moving on. Please skip canned soups. Just thinking,
but why?
walking
They're
through the
so
grocery store
easy
here.
to bring to
I know,
work
but they're
for
so
lunch. What should I do instead? I mean, when I was first out of college, I ate canned soup all the time for lunch at my first job. Like that was easy and quick and convenient.
I know.
Then I learned maybe I should just make a big batch of soup myself and
bring it with you. Yes. We're actually really lucky that we live in the time that we do, because there are so many processed options that are getting better and better and better for you. There are companies who are embracing the whole food mentality and are making products that don't have all those crappy additives in them. And
there
they are
available. Canned soups that fall into that category.
Yes.
I haven't looked at the soup aisle for such a long time, but man, I used to love those. Honestly. Like chicken and dumpling, Campbell's. That used to be
Please
good.
don't buy that.
I'm not going to. So if you're listening to this, I hope I'm not tempting you. Stop, don't do it. But that was good.
So then, so we're walking through Fairway. So then immediately you come on to eggs and bacon and, cold, quick, easy grabs. I cannot tell you how many eggs we go through in our house. There is a discussion for conventionally raised poultry or chickens and eggs versus if you can find somebody local who can get you eggs, that's a way better option. But if you have to buy them at the store, I don't really have a problem with that either. And then you're going to come into some more convenience foods, lunch meat and whatnot. But then guess what you walk into? A giant meat counter. So I think if you could do all your grocery shopping in those three spaces and then onto frozen foods, and you're good.
Right. And I mean, that's why if we're buying vegetables at the store, we buy frozen vegetables. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't bought canned vegetables in I don't know if ever,
Same.
unless I was, you know, giving it to a food pantry or something like that, or making green bean casserole with it or something like that. I don't know, but that's primarily where I shop in that grocery store as well, unless I need to get some spices or some random other things in the middle of the aisle or in the middle of the
Right.
store. But
Right.
that's pretty much my route, and it's a good way to start when you haven't been eating in this way before. But it also can make it challenging because then you get all this fresh stuff or this food that has to be prepared, and what do you do with it? How do
You
you
get home and you're panicked because you think you've made all these wonderful decisions, and then you're like, what in the heck am I going to do with all this stuff? What am I doing?
exactly?
I Yes.
So in a little bit, we're going to talk about meal planning and prepping some of that food and how to
Yes.
prepare that. Well, let's talk about things that, like if you want to eliminate or some easy things to give up and start making that change. So now that you've shopped the perimeter of the store, what's an easy substitute or thing to get rid of and supplement with a fresh or a whole food?
Oh, well, I can think of a couple really sort of easy options off the bat. So let's think pasta, because we live in a world where pasta is quick and easy. I'm not gonna lie, we had pasta for dinner last night. So, um, but
So normally, if you're buying pasta, what kind of pasta do you buy
I
for a healthy
like.
option?
I don't know if you can get it locally at all. I like Banza. It's a pasta made from chickpea flour.
How do you spell that?
Banza.
Bonza.
Um, Costco usually has it, actually in a giant box. I wish some of our local stores would carry that. That'd be amazing.
It's chickpea flour?
It is chickpea flour. But I don't know. Let's say noodles. It's kind of labor intensive. So, but zucchini noodles or vegetable noodles of any sort are a wonderful swap for just pasta in general. They are not spaghetti. Please do not fool yourself that you are going to eat zucchini noodles and it's going to taste like spaghetti and it's going to be totally satisfying. You're going to love it. It does take a little bit of getting used to.
But spaghetti squash is a good option too for that.
Yeah, spaghetti squash or sweet potato. We like sweet potato
I do
noodles.
too. Yeah.
You kind of get the sweet with the tomato sauce, and it's kind of delicious.
And if you don't want to take the time to noodleize, to spiralize, I guess is the right word, spiralize vegetable, just dice it and serve it over top. Like we've done that with sweet potatoes before. It's just diced them,
Yes.
cooked them up, and then just put the spaghetti sauce on top of it. And
We've even done it over roasted broccoli.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
As have we.
It's good. It's still, it's not pasta. It's not spaghetti noodles, but it kind of still has that same texture of a noodle, the kind of the bite, and not, a lot of it is the texture that we eat, and we're missing that palatable feel. So it's just kind of swapping out with some sort of vegetable that works for you, whatever that may be.
Yeah. We could do like a whole segment on swap this for that.
Mm-hmm.
Man. We'll get into that another day, though.
I see a workshop coming.
I do, too. That's a great workshop idea. Put it together. Let's do it. You do it, I mean. I'll host it. I'll just be your support person and cheerleader.
Hey, I've
got the space. You've got the talent. All right. That's all we're going to talk about today, really, as far as what you do, what your strengths are, and what you can help people with your nutritional therapy practitioner certification. That's something that in Iowa we just really have to, if we want to make a difference, we have to do the work to get those things changed, which is a very challenging thing, and
it's a very daunting task.
Big task, and
it's a big
not
task.
A one-person thing.
It is not. It is not. there's a group that is working nationwide to help try and get our legislators to realize that there are more options. Like I said, I think Iowa is one of only 5 states left in the union that's red. So there is a
nuts.
I know, it's
but at
crazy.
least there is that nationwide support that could potentially help change things.
Yes. And I'm not saying that talking to a registered or licensed dietitian is bad at all, because I think that they have absolutely wonderful knowledge also. I just think that there's a secondary part of that where people like me, and there are other local people who have done the NTP program, and we're just kind of sitting on it. Like, we just don't know what to do because we have this knowledge, we have this base of wonderful stuff, and we just can't do anything with it, which is frustrating.
And, I think back to your point on the registered dietitian thing, I think there are probably a lot of registered dietitians out there who do specialize in particular areas, or looking at the paleo diet, or looking at intermittent fasting, or various ways of eating, lifestyles of eating that promote this same mindset. But and so that's something, if you are looking for a registered dietitian to work with, then do some digging. Like, make sure that that person is going to help you figure out how to holistically alter your food as well, or your nutrition as well. Okay, that's all we're going to talk about today as far as your background and that little segment of knowledge that you have. Next week, we're going to talk about meal planning and prep, and getting your kids to eat healthy foods. Jess has teenagers as well as a kindergartner, so helping them learn how to eat healthy and accept foods can be a challenge, but she has successfully been able to do it for the most part. So thank you so much, Jess, for taking this time, and we'll talk a little bit more and hit on those other topics.
Can't wait.
It is truly an amazing program that Jess went through, and that she learned so much information and is able to do that functional testing, which honestly is pretty cool. As I said, I just hope that she is able to figure out a way to begin practicing that and to begin utilizing some of those in our state very soon, because I know that many people would benefit from it. And it does kind of seem wild at first, but it completely works and really can give you some good insights on maybe what you're missing in your diet or what you're getting too much of. So stay tuned for future developments on that. That's it for this week. Next week, we dive into eating healthy with kids, as well as meal planning and prep. Some tips and things that you can do to help you begin to develop a system for being prepared for meals at your house, instead of being like I am most of the time. Oh shoot, it's 3:00 and I have nothing out of the freezer. I need to have a plan. That's how it is many afternoons or evenings at our house. But some of the insights and tips that Jess gives really can help you get a system in place for evenings and meal planning. And if you'd like a list of my favorite go-to healthy snacks, check out the show notes page at KarenYogaWellness.com/podcasts, where you can access a comprehensive list of what we usually have at our house for snacks. And just a nudge to head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating or review. It would mean so much to me, and it will allow this podcast to be found by more listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you hear, help us grow this podcast by sharing it with even just one other person. And it would mean so much to me if you would take a moment of your time to write a review. Your comments and feedback are what help me continue to bring you topics and guests that can help you and others on their journey in creating health, harmony, and happiness. Remember to head on over to KarenYogaWellness.com to get the show notes and links from today's episode. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Karen Yoga Wellness, and to continue connecting with more resources that could help you enhance health, harmony, and happiness in your own life, subscribe to this podcast. Thanks again for listening.